Years old, she actually built a nursing home. So this is her in front, a picture, a rendering of the nursing home. And she started the first Christmas party for African Americans here in Jacksonville. It was called the Angel of Mercy Christmas Drive.
What year was that roughly?
It was in 1934.
Okay.
And this is her library here. We have books dated back to the early 1901 down to 1974. And of course, on the walls are some of her accolades. From the community. And right about here is her hats, which are really cute. And down the hallway is actually where she lived on this floor. This is a picture of President Nixon. And Mrs. White received the Lane Bryant Award twice in her lifetime. She was the only human being that it ever happened to. And they were giving her accolades there at the White House. And here is an award from President Franklin D. Roosevelt, which his wife, Eleanor Roosevelt, was really involved in the women's settlement movement, and Ms. White was a really big part of that movement. And here is her bedroom, quaint little bedroom. Not really sure when she had time to sleep because she was so busy. Ms. White was really sort of like the Mother Teresa of Jacksonville. And probably the only African-American woman that could go between the black and white community to get things done. She was a kind of person that understood social issues, which we still experience today. So we're actually living on her legacy. And of course, these are pictures up here. This is my favorite because in 1945, when the CIO wanted to make sure that women were paid fair wages, they consulted with Miss White. And this is a picture with Mayor Hans Tansler. He had asked her to help him when he was running for office, and one of the things that she wanted him to consider and do was to develop a recreational facility for African Americans, and he did, and named it after her. And this is a picture up here with Mary McLeod Bethune, which is right here, a national figure, and Mrs. White. And these women were a part of the National Defense Council, and they were responsible for going around the United States and training women when the men went off to war. And behind you here is a gallery of pictures of Miss White in her late 20s, all the way till 1 month before she passed away in 1974, and she was 97 years old. And here is her guest bedroom, and I guess one of the things I want you to notice about this is that it's much larger than her bedroom. She always thought the best was for her guests, and some of the people that are stayed in here as her guests is Booker T. Washington, A. Philip Randolph, Mary McLeod Bethune, and many of the musicians that visited the La Villa area in the early 30s and 40s. And of course, if you got a chance to eat in this room, you know she was going to hit you up for some money. Just to keep her Bible right here. And it was pretty much understood when she had visitors, they would come and they would actually put donations in her Bible here, and she would invest it back into the program. And of course, this is my favorite room because it has a little bit of everything in it. Mrs. White also taught voice and music lessons here. These are some of the chairs that the students sat in. And behind you are photos by Mr. Weems, who was the first African-American licensed photographer here in Jacksonville. The picture right here is the first African-American opera in the United States. And we have some famous people in this photo here. You have James Weldon Johnson and his brother Rosamond Johnson, who were also playwriters in the early 20s and 30s. And this is Mrs. White right here. And they were in New York, and They auditioned for this opera company and went around the world and actually sang opera. But Mr. James Weldon Johnson also wrote Lift Up Your Voice and Sing, and he was the first attorney that passed the bar in the state of Florida. Okay. And of course, these are her personal items, her living room furniture, and also a picture of the house that they moved from to this building in 1932. And if you take a look at that picture, the clients that are on the outside, most of them are men, and most of the clients that we provide services for today are still men.